with reference to the amendment that Senator White is presenting, I have always supported any mitigation in the sales tax. The Declaration of Independence said, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that God created all men equal." Okay, just men, and just white men at that, and just white tax-paying men. Where is the only place that, regardless of your gender, your race, your previous condition of servitude, your sexual orientation, your national origin, your religion or lack thereof, where is the only place in the society where all of those people are treated the same and equally? At the altar of the sales tax. Whether you are a small child impoverished, a rich old man who's the wealthiest person in the world, a gay man, a lesbian woman, a religious fundamentalist, or a wild-eyed religious liberal, a big spender or a tightwad, you all are reduced to the same level when it comes to the sales tax. And there should be nothing in society which says one size fits all.
1 minute.
If you set up valid classifications, it is not inappropriate to say that everybody in that classification will be treated the same way. In fact, the Constitution requires it. But it's inappropriate to say that you'll have a Procrustes bed type situation where if a person is too long to fit, you chop the person off. If the person is too short, you stretch the person, but you're going to make every person fit it. There are some people who are unduly burdened by the sales tax, which is regressive. Senator White is trying to mitigate that harm and help us deliver on a promise, so I support his amendment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Chambers.
The legislature, I'm going to withdraw this one also, but I thought Senator Erdman would leave his motion up there long enough for us to say other things that are not directly related to the amendment before us. I do support that amendment, but I had said earlier this morning that if a person has blundered, made an error, it's not ever too late to acknowledge it, correct your direction, and go the right way. Senator Whiteman is absolutely correct as far as I know. Governor Heinemann is not a lawyer. I had said he's a lawyer. He is not, as far as I know. I mixed him up with former Governor Johans. Governor Johans is a lawyer. And on other occasions, I'd be speaking of one, and I would give the name of the other one. So I want to correct the record insofar as I said that Governor Heinemann is a lawyer, but everything else I said, I mean. I had something I had to do in my office that was very important, but I'm not one to abandon a friend, to abandon a colleague, to abandon an associate. And as I was heading from my office, I heard somebody taking the name of the devil in vain. But really, I had given his given name, which is Satan. But people take the two to mean the same thing. And I said, good gracious, sakes alive, somebody is up there attacking the devil, so I better get back to the chamber so that the devil's reputation is maintained intact, the aspect of it that I admired. Senator Carlson, whom I refer to as the parson, came up with all of the unsupported allegations. He's a liar from the beginning. He is the father of lies. He goes around seeking whom he may devour. Now, Senator Carlson doesn't know that to be true from his own experience. He's going by what he read. But I'm going to accept everything he said as true for the purpose of argument. Senator Nelson is aware of lawyers saying in courts, for the sake of argument, then you allow that something may be accepted for the purpose of argument. But even if we accept it for that purpose, it's not valid. I don't know if I heard Senator Carlson say this, and I don't know if he said it, that the devil doesn't keep his word. That's my point. The devil keeps his word. If he promises something, he will deliver. Now, Senator Carlson mentioned something about a fire hotter than any fire that I had ever been aware of. Well, let me tell you this, brothers, sisters, friends, enemies, and neutrals. If a fire has a temperature of 500 degrees Fahrenheit, and another fire over here has a temperature 10 times that high, 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit, would you really be able to tell the difference? Now, maybe Senator Carlson would be able to, but I think I wouldn't. Somebody asked me, do I think that Senator Carlson is saying that I'm going to Hades? Well, maybe so, and maybe not. But the best thing we can do is our best. And we should live according to what we consider to be our best lights. That's what I try to do. And if it's not good enough, then it's not good enough. I will never say that I believe something I don't believe. I will never say I disbelieve something that I do believe. There is nobody that I fear enough to lie to out of fear. But I'll tell you this, and I know it's going to scandalize all these Christians in here running around saying you should never tell a lie. If my telling the truth on some issue meant that some person that I think is innocent is going to suffer unjustly, I'd tell a lie in a New York minute or New York second, whatever it is. I mean, I'd tell that lie as quickly as I could get the words out of my mouth. But if it comes to telling a lie to deceive somebody, to take an advantage, no, I won't. I don't fear anybody enough to tell that kind of a lie. And I think it was Jonathan Swift who said, a man who will tell a lie is a coward toward men and brave toward God. Because you don't want the men to know you're lying, but God knows you're lying, if you believe in such things. So, I want the devil to stop being blamed for all these kind of things he doesn't do. Somebody will take a drink when they shouldn't, say the devil made me do it. And he has nobody who speak for him. He said, I don't even get involved in that petty stuff. Look, I got George W. Bush. I got Tony Blair. I got Mr. Putin to deal with. And some guy sitting in the tavern down there in Lincoln, Nebraska, taking a drink out of a glass, thinks that I'm going to give up this work that I must do to go down there and make him drink. He does that on his own, or his wife, or his boss, or some disappointment is what made him do that. Not the devil. So I'm telling you, hate the devil if you must, but give the devil his propers. The devil is not involved in everything that doesn't go the way you want it to go. As a matter of fact, and this will scandalize the parson, wicked spirits come from God, Senator Carlson, not from the devil. If you read about King Saul, it talks about a wicked spirit, an evil spirit from God was upon Saul. And what did Saul do when that evil spirit came upon him? He summoned David, who would play his harp. And by playing that harp, David calls the evil spirit from God to lift from Saul. So if you read that Bible, you're going to see that a lot of things you all were told are not like what you were told. And as Gershwin or whoever those people were wrote in their song, the things that you're liable to read in the Bible, they ain't necessarily so. Now, having punished you all adequately, I withdraw that motion, Mr. President.
Senator Jansen, would you yield to a question?
Yes. Senator Jansen, are you opposed to this amendment that would reduce the sales tax by 0.5%?
Yes.
Senator Jansen, not basing your answer on what you do in your store, because we know that you are a kind-hearted gentleman who is always interested in the common good and so forth and so on. These questions can be answered yes or no, I believe, because they're not tricky. I saw what you're doing. He had a Robin Hood mask over his face. But this is a hood robbing bill because it robs from the poor and gives to those who are better off. Senator Jansen, is there anything in the current law which says that if a person is below a certain age but makes a purchase on which sales taxes are levied, that person will not have to pay the tax because of his or her age?
No.
Okay, so no matter how young you are, if you're making a purchase, you pay the tax, correct?
Correct.
Now, when they get up to the age where you and I are, and we're on a fixed income, must we pay the tax also, Sonny? Yes.
All right. Now, if we have somebody who is a beauty queen and is being offered a $3 million contract to appear in one advertisement, and she makes a purchase, and it's the same purchase that the young child who happened to be a female maid, will that beauty queen with the $3 million contract in the offing pay any more sales tax on the same purchase that our young child had made earlier?
No.
Now I'm going to reverse the question. The beauty queen having made the purchase first, when the young child comes in, will the young child pay as much in sales tax as the beauty queen paid for the same purchase?
Yes.
So what I said earlier is true. Would you agree that regardless of your age, your sex, your national origin, you'd still pay the same tax rate when you make purchases that are subject to the sales tax?
Percentage of the cost, absolutely, yes. Oh,
Thank
there are
you.
sometimes there are senior citizen discounts, but the percentage still stays the same on that purchase.
And that discount is not given by the state, it's given by the
Merchant.
particular enterprise, right?
Yes.
Thank you. I'd like to ask Parson Carlson a question or two if he will yield.
Senator Carlson, would you yield to a question?
Well,
Parson, suppose a person is highly religious and makes a purchase which is subject to the sales tax. Will he or she pay a lesser rate based on being highly religious?
absolutely not.
Now, I'm going to get even more specific. If a heathen makes such a purchase, will he pay
1 minute.
less based on his being a heathen?
Unfortunately not.
If a sheathen makes the same purchase, would the sheathen pay as much as the heathen?
Yes.
So then everybody who makes a purchase is going to be subject to the same rate of the sales tax.
Correct.
Do you think that is a fair method of taxation?
Yes.
Thank you, Senator Carlson. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Chambers.
President, members of the legislature, I listened very carefully to what Senator Gay said. And Senator Gay, there was a song, and this person who was being a character in the song was trying to find a remedy. So the question was put something like the way you put it to the body, except it was answered this way, and I'm not going to sing it. He said, get rid of that hacking cough, that runny nose, that sneeze, achoo, that wheeze, and other miseries. Take the wonder drug to cure all your ills. Get Jeremiah Peabody's polyunsaturated, quick dissolving, fast acting, pleasant tasting green and purple pills. Well, you have the fever, I've got the cure. You said you want some set-offs, that's exactly what I'm going to offer. Not at this point because my amendment is not before us. But Senator Gay is fair in saying if money is to be added, and I use that word advisedly, if there's going to be a tax cut, which will take a certain amount of money from the Treasury, where is the offset or the money coming from that will restore what the tax cut is going to subtract? When my amendment comes up, then I'll do that. Senator Friend made me realize that something I said may have been misconstrued. When I talked about everybody being equal before the sales tax, What I meant was everybody has to pay the exact same rate, regardless of ability or inability to pay. So what is called equality really imposes the greatest injustice. There can be a law, as I said the other day, which by the words it uses can be considered very fair. But because of the way it is applied, it is patently unjust. That's the way it is with the sales tax. You can say everybody pays the same rate, and on its face that sounds not bad. But when you apply it to the people who are actually going to pay, you see that by charging the poorest person the same rate as the richest person, that tax, which on its face sounds all right, is grossly unjust. So for the parson today, I'm not going to try to blend with friend. I'm not going to be crowding louding, but I'm going to offer something to the parson straight from the book so he won't think that I'm misstating or adding to it, as on occasion I might do in trying to fill in what the writers of the book left out, but which I know should have been there. And Jesus sat over against the treasury and beheld how the people cast money into the treasury. And many that were rich cast in much. And there came a certain poor widow, and she threw in 2 mites, which make a farthing. And he called unto him his disciples, and saith unto them, Verily I say unto you, that this poor widow hath cast more in than all they which have cast into the treasury. For all they did cast in of their abundance, but she of her want did cast in all that she had, even all her living. Jesus was making a point, but I will apply it to what the sales tax does. It will take all that a person who is poor may have, even all of his or her living. The rich people always have plenty of money left to spend on whatever it is they choose.
1 minute.
But the poor people will have every penny, every nickel they spend taxed at a rate of 5.5%, not adding what a local government may have put on by way of a sales tax. Rich people don't have all of their income taxed at 5.5%. Everything. Somebody might say, yes, they do. But they know how to get breaks of every kind and variety. This sales tax is unfair. And I'm going to continue to support a reduction in the sales tax in whatever form an amendment comes. If those particular amendments are rejected, we will eventually get to mine, which I'm having redrafted because there were changes in LB 5 or 380. What are we on? 367? There were changes, so as drafted, it was not plugging in the manner that it should.
1 minute. I'm sorry, Senator Chambers, time.
I'm sorry, too, but I forgive you. Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. Members of the legislature, if I'm chafing over anything, it's the rapidity with which that budget package flew through this legislature. People weren't looking at the huge amounts of money in that budget, those bills taken as a whole. So we are stuck on this particular bill. People can grasp it. But that day, I was not available. But what I was given my time to did produce fruit in terms of what the Nebraska Supreme Court did yesterday. There are things in that budget that needed more analysis, more evaluation, more justification, and maybe we would have wound up with the same thing. But none of those responsible actions were taken. So here we are now, and people are saying, where are we going to cut? What are the bills designated as where cuts can occur? The budget bills, where are they? Gone. Who sent them over there? You all did. And now you say, what are we going to cut? Well, that which can be cut is gone. You sent it away. Now you're upset because something is not here to cut. Senator Mines had given it as his opinion that there won't be enough votes to invoke cloture. Why should you even think about that? You want to rush off this bill to get something else, then I will make you vote cloture for the rest of the bills we got on the agenda today. We may as well play hardball now, and some of you all think that I am too old, that I'm too tired, that I will quit. Once I decide to sink my teeth into something, I will not remove them. And you all will leave before I will. You are the ones who will be fleeing to your offices, running in there to be fed by the lobbyists. But I won't. I won't get a drink of water. I won't run down to my office. I won't be in there with my feet kicked up. I will not be taking a nap somewhere. I won't be dragging around here like somebody who's superannuated. You all, when you got things your way, you feel good and strong. And the budget bills were basically what the governor wanted. And he's running through this legislature. And that's why he might tell people, if you don't give me what I want on that education bill, which is what the superintendents want, I will veto every school bill that comes through the legislature. And you all start shaking and trembling and saying, Governor, what do you want? I will fight him. And if you vote for cloture on this bill, know what you're doing. Take me up on it. But remember, brothers and sisters, if I stay here till 11:59, you will be here too. And how many days running can you do it? I have demonstrated session after session after session that I am here. When they were having the Salem witch trials, false accusations were made against people. And the one case that sticks out in everybody's mind who has read about those trials involved an elderly gentleman who was accused of being a witch. And he was not. And no matter how much they pressured him, they were not going to force him to plead guilty to something he was innocent of. So they stretched him spread eagle in the way that Christians know how to inflict pain. So they started piling stones on him. Do you confess? And not a word. Then they brought enough stones so his rib cage would probably collapse. And they heard something being said. And great joy came upon the Christians because they were forcing him to say what they needed him to say. So this head demon,
1 minute,
known as a preacher, put his ear down there and said, "What did you say?" And you all know what the old man said, "More weight." In other words, do your worst. Put more weight on me. Test me. See if I'm blowing smoke. See if I'm shooting blanks. See if I'm bluffing. How much does every one of these bills mean to you? You'll vote cloture on every bill on the agenda? Fine. You put me to the test, I will put you to the test. You got to know when to hold them. Know when to fold them. Know when to walk away and know when to run. So when are you going to run? You going to run now? Or are you going to wait till 11:50 and decide you're going to run and then look back and say, I should have run at 5 o'clock? This bill is important. The issues are grave. And we should not run away from this bill. Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, members of the legislature, what we're doing here today is necessary to be done. If you have a committee and you cannot get a consensus on that committee, and the committee comprises 8 members, so each member gets some of or all of what he or she wants. You've got 8 discordant items. Senator Hudkins, I'm not talking about an octet where people sing their particular part and there's a concord of sweet sounds known as harmony. But we got discord everywhere. But when it comes out on the floor, the body is asked to accept this discordant package, which wouldn't even work in the committee. And the only way you get enough votes in the committee to send something out here is to give everybody something, but nobody wants the rest of what's in the bill. Then they're going to get offended when we don't accept what they don't want to accept. If somebody runs for a chairmanship, that's a voluntary thing. Nobody put a gun to anybody's head. Brothers and sisters, we are adults. We are grown people. And you're going to talk about feeling sorry for somebody? I don't feel sorry for Senator Jansen. Nobody put a gun up to his head and said, Senator Jansen, be the chairperson of the Revenue Committee. He sought that position. He wanted it. And he knows it's not an easy job. So what we get out here is a mishmash, a hodgepodge. It's chaotic. And now they want a cloture vote from the rest of the body to send something that the committee didn't even think was good. And 33 of y'all going to go for it. Senator Friend's going to jump on it because he's tired. Well, do it. This is how I make you all be very irresponsible. Just wear you down. Then you forget everything you're supposed to do and you make foolish decisions because you're angry at the moment. Then later on you say, I shouldn't have done that. Or what are we going to look like? Or this doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense when it came out here. It doesn't make sense now, and it won't make sense if you vote cloture. I can't control how you vote on this, but I can control how much time you're going to spend on other things. How far do you want to get on the rest of this agenda? You know how much time I can take on 305, but that's one where Senator Fisher probably feels she's got the votes to get cloture. Even though the state officials in the roads department put their influence behind a road, an overpass that went nowhere. And when I was asking Senator Fisher and others on this floor to name the person in the Department of Roads who is in charge of quality control, they didn't know, and I acknowledge that I don't know. And when you talk about the lack of quality control, those who drive between Omaha and Lincoln every day can see where that widening project, which is hardly 3 years old, is being torn up because they use poor quality material, and the state is going to pay again, and Senator Fisher is going to get you all to take $10 million out of the Treasury and give it to that irresponsible Department of Roads, and you all are going to do it. Talk about sheep. You know what a man said? If you had a flock of sheep led by a lion, that flock of sheep led by a lion would put to flight a pride of lions led by a sheep.
1 minute.
You all are not only sheep, you're led by sheep, afraid of your shadow. This that we're doing is not going to be on you forever. In a month, you'll be away from here. Do the right thing. And you'll feel good about it, but you're afraid while you're under this little pressure here. And what kind of pressure can they put on you? They're not going to take your job. They're not going to take your children. They're not going to take your house, but you're afraid that they'll look at you and don't like you. They'll look angry. Their feelings are hurt because you ought to give them what they want. They're grown people. They ask for these positions. And if the rest of you are not going to call them to account, I will. And unlike Senator Friend, I don't care if nobody likes me. Your like or dislike means nothing to me. If you like me, am I going to get more at the grocery store for, oh, I don't have anything but keys in my pocket. But if I had a nickel, am I going to get more at the store for a nickel if y'all like me? Am I going to get less if you don't like me?
Time.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the legislature, Senator Friend said he's not tired, so what's the first thing he does? He gets so exhausted he has to hand off some of his time to somebody else to help him survive. He can't talk 5 minutes. How's he going to talk 5 hours? I've done it. I don't need help. In fact, I have people ceding time to me. You know what's going on the floor right now? Members of the legislature, you all can see it. Those who are watching don't know. We have knees that at one point had some strength to them. These knees are getting weak. Knees are getting weak around the floor of the legislature. If the cloture vote is taken and it's not successful, the bill is not dead. It comes off the agenda for today. If this bill is important, it will wind up on the agenda again. If you're tired of talking about it today, when Senator Jansen bails out and wants you all to cover for what the committee didn't do, don't vote for cloture. And it'll come off the agenda for today. That's all. It will still be here. It'll be here. We're at the hardball time in the session, and feeling sorry for people is not going to wash at this point. And when you get one of your bills up here and it gets the same treatment, you see how many people feel sorry for you. If in order to feel sorry for you, they get behind yours, that means something to them. Well, you know, I'd like to help you, but I don't think I can. No. Cover up is what you're interested in when you vote cloture. If a committee messed up, no matter how much dirt you heap on that mess, if it smelled like manure, it's going to continue to smell that way. I don't care how much dirt you put on top of it, and it will come up again on final reading. And it may be necessary to delay other bills to make it more difficult to get to that bad bill. There are some new people here who are being told how things work in this legislature, and you're being lied to. They're telling you that I will quit, that I can't carry it through, and that every bill is not going to have to go to cloture. Don't worry about it. So the new people swallow it and go along. Look at the track record I've established while you were here. You saw me stick up for what I said I would. You saw me do what I said I would do. You saw me attempt to do things that were virtually impossible, but I put forth the effort. I didn't just fold my tent and say they're outnumbering me, so I'm not going to try it. You might be that way, but I'm not. And maybe Senator Friend can talk you into cloturing every bill. But that's what you're going to do. How many days do we have left? 40 days left. 40 days left. It rained 40 days and 40 nights without stopping. People got worried, Senator Carlson, but the rain kept dropping. All these animals were drowned, supposedly. What about the fish? What about the turtles? What about the frogs? Y'all don't even think about that. They didn't drown. What about that big fish that swallowed Jonah, supposedly? You know what that story was about, Senator Carlson? The fish was a minnow, and Jonah was the name of a gnat. A minnow swallowed a gnat, and it is transmogrified into a whale swallowing a man. First of all, a whale is not a fish. A whale is a mammal. And the book doesn't say a whale. The book says a fish. But people who can't read well, or who change what they read, say a whale. Well, we're going to have a whale of a time here. Senator Carlson, there was a guy, and he had worked hard all of his life, but he didn't have a chance to be in school very much. So when he put the plow aside and he was supposed to speak at this gathering where they were going to honor him for being a great farmer, a friend of his said, now, whatever you do, don't try to use big words, because that's not your long suit or your strong suit. Just talk like a man of the earth like you are. This guy wasn't even thinking about using big words, but that put it on his mind. So when they introduced him to speak, he just had to use 2 big words. So he said, I'm whale glad to be here, and I'm elephant glad to see you. That's my colleagues. Whale glad to be here and elephant glad to see somebody, and they use some big words. We're going to be here for a while this evening, and if not on this bill, then on other bills. Now, that's a pledge that I'm making to you all, and if I give my word, you want me to keep it. And I assure you that I shall, and we're going to watch Senator Friend stay right here with me. The rest of you can go to your offices and the lounge, but if there are only 2 people here, those 2 will be myself and Senator Mike Friend. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Senator Langemeyer. And you all can see Senator Friend gulping air now. He's getting red. Look at his face, flushed. He takes more breaths and talks slower to try to regroup while he's in full stride, but his stride is slower and the steps are less long. And we haven't even gotten to 5 o'clock yet. But what he's counting on is having his fuel tank refill when the lobbyist, whoever it is, feeds him over there. And y'all gonna run over there and eat the lobbyist's food. And you think you got dignity? You're hunting all the time. Lunch hunters. That's what I call them. Lunch hunters. Spongers. Moochers. Where's your pride? You got to go have them feed you. If I gave you a meatloaf sandwich and a chicken dinner, would you go my way? They're running around here talking about a so-called sales tax holiday. You know, after talking in the clouds, the noble ideas about helping the people who need the sales tax help, and then here they come talking about a sales tax holiday where poor people can go into a store if you've got a little more money on that day and get 2 notebooks for your child, and that's what they're selling out for. And they call themselves helping somebody. They're not helping the people that I represent, but they're not trying to help the people that I represent. They have a different agenda. And they try to give the impression they're helping poor people. Then they walk around here as though they're the great compassionate people and have done so much for the poor, and it was an insult. If I'm hungry, don't give me a crumb, give me nothing, and I have my dignity. Don't give me 2 notebooks, take my dignity, and say you did something to help me. It's worse than nothing. It is an insult. And for Senator White, if he's one of them, and Senator Mines, if he's one of them, and whoever else is a part of it, you need to know that you're doing something that is insulting. That is worse than nothing. But since white people know what's best for everybody else, you're going to do it anyway. That's why you're not liked. You're not liked in this country. You're not liked anywhere in the world. Because you think you're better than everybody. And you and your paternalism. All this stuff of being the missionaries. Well, we're going to give you a crumb and you be happy. Let them vote cloture and leave it like it is. It's not going to help the people he represents. And here we are again. I don't care what happens with the rest of the session. And we're going to talk about something. And I will be here talking with you. Thanks to what the Supreme Court did yesterday, I don't have a court hearing that I have to go to tomorrow morning. Because the need for it on an emergency basis no longer exists. But it's work that I'll have to do, and I'll do it when the day comes to do it. But that gives me more time to be with my brothers and sisters on the floor of the legislature. And I won't be gasping and running out of things to say if people give me time.
1 minute.
No, I'll take that time. And the longer we go, the stronger I get. The less nutrients I take in, the stronger I get. That's the way it works with me, Senator Waldman. That's why when other people are running down, my energy level is rising. Don't ask me why it's like that. All I know is that's the way that it is. Then Senator Fulton, I don't know what all he said because I wasn't catching it all, but he did ask, could he come in my office and lift weights? And I say, no, I don't let people do that in there. First of all, I don't have liability insurance. I don't want anybody to get hurt. But also there's a toy poodle who is very territorial, and I wouldn't want her to bite him on his good leg. So he'll have to find someplace else to rehab. But if they are going to vote cloture, let them vote cloture.
Time.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the legislature, and for the newbies, you know what they have to tell me when it gets to be about 11:30 p.m.? They say, Ernie, tone your engine down a little bit. Some people eat sugar and they get hyper. And I guess that's the way I appear to them. But I assure you, you're not going to see me asking, quarter, or giving any. You all are in charge. I concede that. But I'll say, as I've said to people outside this legislature, if I have 47 against me, and sometimes it might rise to 48, that's closer to a fair fight, and I feel less like a bully. Still feel like a bully, but I feel less like a bully. So you think numbers against me will make me any difference because it frightens you all? And my friend Senator Friend, all he does is get louder as he goes on. And he's the one who said he might get loony, but he won't get tired. He said that. Okay, does he look tired to you when he's talking and not trying to keep his guard up? I see his shoulders hunch. Somebody asked me how much older I am than Senator Friend. I said, well, about now, he's about 5 years older than me. This reminds me of when Muhammad Ali was fighting George Foreman. This huge heavyweight fighter who threw what Muhammad Ali described as humongous punches. They got into a fight, boxing match, and got around the 8th round. And George Foreman had been throwing a lot of punches at Ali, and at that time, Ali did what was called the rope-a-dope. It had never been seen, and Foreman thought that he was hurting Ali, but he was hitting him on the arms. Ali was riding with the punches. That means when the punch is thrown, he moves the same way with the punch, and the force is absorbed, and he doesn't take the full impact of it. So when Ali came in and was leaning on George on the ropes, George was sucking wind just like Senator Friend. And Ali said, "George, this is the worst place in the world to get tired." And he straightway dispatched him. Wrong place to get tired. What are you going to vote for cloture for? So you can get out of discussing one of the most substantive bills that we're going to have? When you vote cloture, if you do, other amendments are not going to be considered, but I'll offer mine on final reading, and I'll start drafting amendments for the bills that are coming up. But since I'm going to have to do it rapidly, I'll just draft motions. And you all will see the kind of motions that you can draft on the spur of the moment. And each one can be a priority motion. You can write a motion to return the bill to the committee from which it emerged. You can make a motion to kill it if you don't need a priority motion. You can make a straight motion to bracket it. If you want it to be a priority motion, bracket to a day certain. Then if the bill does come up, just start adding amendments. Drop this section, remove that section, strike this and add that. And if you know what you're doing, it's not difficult to do. But you have to do more than just offer the motion and write the amendment. You have to be able to back it up.
1 minute.
You have to be able to talk, to open it for 10 minutes. Take 2 opportunities of 5 minutes each to discuss it. Then a closing. That gives you 25 minutes for each motion, for each amendment. And then if you're lazy, after they vote it down, just move to reconsider. And that's 50 minutes on one motion or one amendment. And you all think I can't keep on this floor until 11:59? I don't even have to engage my mind. My brain is like the layers of an onion for the purposes of analogy. I don't have to even extend below the outer skin. And I can hold my own in here, because all we're going to do is pass time. You all don't care about anything. You proved that the way you ran that budget across. And I heard Senator Erdman say the budget's not gone, that it's on select file, which is true. But general file is where the heavy lifting ought to be done.
Time.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Why that is the case.
Because at 12 a.m. across the board, we are in a new legislative day under our rules.
And why can we not continue?
Well, I suppose we could convene the next day, have the opening prayer at midnight, and begin our work into the wee hours of the 75th legislative day, but I thought that some might want to rest.
Or we could continue tomorrow until 11:59 tomorrow.
We could technically continue until 11:59 tomorrow, although it has been my practice as Speaker not to go the full time on the last day of any given week, notwithstanding any of the pending issues, to give people a chance to get back to their districts.
I'm gonna borrow something from Senator Friend, which he hasn't thought to use. Oh shoot! You mean tomorrow we're not going to stay until 11:59 p.m.?
We could. I think we're well on our way to 11:59 p.m. tonight.
Thank you. And you are prepared to keep us here to for that period of time, correct? Do I have your word on that?
I'd like to get to 10 o'clock and see how things are going.
Well, how do you think I'll be going?
Strong.
And where would you like to see me going?
Home.
That's all I have to ask of this smart aleck. Members of the legislature, as Senator Fisher pointed out, I said the hardball session. She, in a kind of angry tone, said we're past game playing. We're in the angry part of the session or something like that. That may not have been her word, but that's true. And you can either be angry and have your juices jangling and disturb your rest, disturb your digestion. You know why I laughed? I just saw Senator Carlson release a huge sigh. It cannot be a sigh of relief. Senator Friend talks about watching everything.
1
Maybe
minute.
He watches everything, but I actually see everything. I've been speaking 9 minutes already. Mr. President, I've been speaking 9 minutes already.
Senator Chambers, you're recognized to speak on LB 367A. Your motion has not yet been taken up.
Thank you. I just wanted to remind my colleagues that I have numerous opportunities to continue speaking, and usually the person sitting in the chair is hiccup quick, but he paused for a second. So I feel now that I'm really on the road toward getting what I want this evening. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Chambers. Mr. Clerk, motion on the desk.
Senator Chambers would move to amend Floor Amendment 97.
Senator Chambers, you're recognized to open on Floor Amendment 97.
Thank you. Mr. President, members of the legislature, if you want to look at this amendment, you can. And it's not difficult. It shows that I'm not totally opposed to what Senator Jansen is doing. Now, there was one other question I meant to ask the Speaker, but I didn't. I was going to ask him, did he expect that the senators would remain in the chamber, or did it make him any difference if they scattered like a bunch of quail, as I said they would do, and go someplace else because they can't stick it out? I don't even see Senator Friend. Who was the one who told us he'd be here as long as I am? Where, oh where, has Senator Friend gone? Where, oh where can he be? With his words so long, his endurance so short. Ah, Senator Friend, I see. I hate to interfere with people's meal time, but really I don't. But I'm going to make him stick to what he said he would do. As I said, I will stick with what I'm going to do. Senator Friend, I've been talking about the importance of this bill in case you missed it while you were over there doing whatever you were doing. And I know that you feel it's important too because you've expended quite a bit of energy. But you of all people, I want to hear me say this, even more than Senator Jansen, who has forsaken the chamber. See, there are a lot of talk. They talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. Look around this chamber. Where are they? They're gone. What I'm doing with this A bill is striking the figure $100 million and inserting in its place $99 million. All I'm doing is cutting $1 million from this bill. And since this bill belongs to the chairman of the Revenue Committee, I would like to ask him a question as he makes his way
Senator
to his
Jansen,
desk.
would you yield to questions from Senator Chambers?
And he is heading toward his desk, so I will give him time to arrive.
Yes.
Senator Jansen, what is this $100 million for?
Well, that is to fund the bill that was that we just voted on, Senator Chambers.
And where does this money come from?
Well, this comes out of the Property Tax Credit Cash Fund.
And what is the Property Tax Credit Cash Fund?
That's what we're going to have when the bill is passed.
Does the Property Tax Credit Cash Fund exist right now?
No.
What creates that fund?
This bill.
The A bill?
No. The bill.
Where in the bill does it create the Property Tax Credit Cash Fund? I don't mean you have to give a page and a number, but you're saying there is specific language in that bill that says there is hereby created
It says the property tax cash or credit cash fund is created in the bill. The fund
All right.
shall only be used pursuant to the Property Tax Credit Act.
And there is no money in that fund right now because the fund really doesn't exist right now, true?
It will with LB 367, the amendment to that. Yes.
But right now it doesn't exist. Okay.
No.
Does 367 have the emergency clause?
I don't believe so, Senator Chambers.
No, I don't want beliefs now. We're not in church. I want some facts. We're legislating.
No.
We're dealing with legislation, not salvation.
Give me that question again.
Okay. Does LB 367 have the emergency clause?
No.
So it will take effect.
Oh, I'm sorry. It does. Yes, it does. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Yes.
All right. Now, you don't think that was a trick question, do you? Senator Jansen?
Well, you know, Senator Chambers, I'm always on guard to think it may be a trick question. I always look for that rabbit to come out of the hat.
Okay. Now, does the A bill have the emergency clause?
I'm not sure of that. Yes. No, but the bill does.
So the bill will take effect,
Then this follows the bill.
and the A bill will take effect 90 days after we're out of session. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So it doesn't take any money for this bill to be implemented at the time it's passed.
At the
is
time
that
it's
true?
passed, no.
Then this $100 million, if the A bill passes and remains intact, will wind up in that fund as of when?
Within 90 days.
Okay. And where is that $100 million coming from?
Well, that money will come from the reserve, the general fund. The general fund.
That money will come from the general
Yes.
fund.
Yes.
Senator Heidemann, if you were doing in a classroom what you're doing now, you get expelled. You're cheating. You're not the one taking this examination, Senator Heidemann, and I'm not aware that you were requested to do so. However, I don't object because I do want answers to the questions. So, Senator Jansen, when this A bill takes effect, if it remains intact, 90 days after we're out of session, $100 million will go into this property tax credit cash fund, correct?
Correct.
Where is this cash fund residing, if you know?
I would imagine with the Department of Revenue or in the State Treasury.
So
that's where it will be.
So the property tax credit cash fund is located in the office of the treasurer?
Yes.
Are you sure?
No, I'm not sure.
So where is it located?
Right now it's located on paper, Senator Chambers, and I'm sure that it will be transferred at the right time from the right department into the right area where it belongs.
But we just don't know exactly what these departments and where these locations are right now, do we?
No.
But you're going to find out in a minute or so, right?
It is in the Department of Property Tax Assessment and Taxation.
And that is found in
On-
line 4 on page 2 in the
Or-
short bill that we're discussing.
Yes, I was just handed this, and that's where it's at.
Okay, so you hadn't really read 367A prior to this, is that correct?
If I did not remember it.
Okay. That sounds something like Alberto Gonzalez, but I'll continue.
Please don't compare there.
Now, there is also appropriated in this bill $59 million from the general fund to the Tax Equity and Education Opportunities Fund, correct?
That's what it says in Section 2.
And what is that for?
So for Program 158 to aid in carrying out the provisions of Legislative Bill 367, the 100th Legislature's first section.
And what is Program 158, if you know?
That is a program within the
1 minute.
within the Appropriations Committee, I believe, or within the department.
Which department?
Department of Treasury, I suppose.
Well, this bill says the Department of Education.
All right. I
Okay.
didn't see that.
Okay. Now, if it's in the Department of Education, can we conclude that it's some kind of education program?
Senator, I don't know.
Okay. Who's your vice chair?
I'm sorry?
Who is the vice chair of the committee?
I think he's at a hockey game.
Who is he?
Senator Dirks.
Is he playing or spectating?
I think he's spectating.
Thank you. That's all I'll ask you at this point, Senator Jansen.
Thank you.